Hey, it's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and today I want to show you the first intermediate strumming patterns that you should learn. And I've chosen these not only because they're in, all the songs that you want to learn, but also because they're not too far from the strumming patterns that you already know, or that you should know. We're talking about literally the most common strumming pattern ever, and a couple other ones like, those are the most useful strumming patterns. Just make sure that you're comfortable with those first. I'll put a link in the corner if you need to brush up. Anyways, the ones that I'm going to show you today are just one small step further than those ones. And in order to pull them off effectively, you need to be comfortable strumming in double time, which we went over recently. Long story short, all you have to be able to do is strum normally and then go double time. And I have a whole other lesson that'll help you with that if you're not ready. I teach it in its own lesson. Anyways, on to the patterns. The first one is a bit of a trick. We're just taking two strumming patterns that you're already good at, that you already have the muscle memory for, and we're going to put them together back to back. And we're going to squeeze both of those strumming patterns into 4 beats, turning them into a 16th note strumming pattern. And that's synonymous with intermediate strumming pattern, a 16th note pattern. It goes like this. And if you haven't seen my 6 strumming patterns that work for any song video, we learn both of those patterns there. The first one is root, down, up, miss, up, down, up. And then the second half, root, down, down. And those are both pretty straightforward patterns. That first one you find in like Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, or like it's a really good blues and country pattern. We just add root down to the end of it. And root just means a little stroke, right? Root, it's just a tiny little downstroke. So it's basically a downstroke. And we go root, down, up, miss, up, down, root, down. You work on them both separately. And the process for getting that is to be really comfortable with each of those patterns, root, down, up, miss, up, down, up. Just doing it over and over again. And then root, down, just a really easy pattern, just getting used to that on its own. And then we try to put them both together once. Root, down, up, miss, up, root, down. And I find saying it is super helpful. I'm going to write out the words for you so you can literally read it out loud and say it and tell your hands what to do. Root, down, up, miss, up, root, down. And you just do it once. And once you can do it once successfully, confidently, you try to loop it over and over again. Root, down, up, miss, up, root, down. Root, down, up, miss, up, root, down. And this is a really great pattern for playing a song like Bad Moon Rising by CCR. I see the pale moon rising. We're changing chords during the pattern there, so maybe that's a bit of a tricky one. But, that is the pattern for that song. And the pattern itself is quite simple, and all we did was we just made a longer pattern by combining 2 really easy patterns. Another one of these that I find is super useful is... So the first half of that is down, root, down, up, which is like probably the 3rd strumming pattern I recommend. It's the first one that has an upstroke in it, so it's one of the first strumming patterns you'd learn. And then the second half of that is down, up, down, up. And once again, if you want to break these down and really learn these patterns, that's definitely something you should do first. I have lessons covering all this here on YouTube. I'll put a link in the corner. Either way, you take those 2 patterns, doing the same process. You play each one by itself a whole bunch. Then you go through both of them together, reading out the words like this. Down, root, down, up, down, up, down, up. Until it's really comfortable. Then you try to loop it. And at that point, you're done. You know the pattern. You add some chords to it, like... And you can feel free to experiment, combine any two patterns that you know. Sometimes you have to adjust it and maybe like take one of the strokes out or add something, and you can make literally anything that way. But once you reach that point, you'll want to move on to the next step, which is acknowledging the 16th notes. So you're already doing the correct motions and all that, but it's more about feeling it a little bit differently. Let's take this one right here. And you'll find that on Forever Young by Bob Dylan, the slow version, Wonderwall. It's like the most common 16th note strumming pattern. And to break it down, we have 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how we're going to divide it. The first beat is super simple, just a downstroke on beat 1. And that's it. But we got to keep moving our arm to keep the timing steady, right? The timing is 1 E and 2 E and down on the numbers and the ands, and then up on the E's and the ahs. 1 E and 2 E and you want to get used to that, right? And this first beat, 1 E and pretty straightforward. The next one is down, down, up. And if we count it out using 16th notes, 2 E and that's pretty straightforward. You could even go 1 E and 2 E and and you can totally sound it out that way and work it out in that technical way. That's a great skill to have. But the way that I want to show you to work on this stuff is a little bit simpler, and it'll still develop the necessary rhythm and muscle memory without having to break it down so much and getting too technical. To get the timing perfect on that down, down, up, I want you to say something. Vocalization is the key. We could say down, down, up, and that works totally fine. But for some people, it gets confusing. Like down, down, up, down, down, and so a good trick is to say a real word that fits. In this case, Vancouver. Vancouver. I'm just muting the strings here. And we could even count it in. We could go 1 E and a Vancouver. 1 E and a Vancouver. And let's add that first downstroke. So let's play the first half of our pattern going 1 E and a Vancouver. Down, Vancouver. Or you could, go down, 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 up. Whatever way allows you to acknowledge that counting. Keep your arm moving with that 1 E and, with that beat. You could even do the counting. 1 E and 2 E and whatever works for your brain. I've given you 3 different ways to do it. Just pick one, go with it, and just try to make it comfortable before you move on too far. Now, for beat 3, it goes. So we're missing that downstroke on beat 3, and then we go up, down, and that's really syncopated. If we count it out, we'd go 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and. So that's counting it. But something I think is a little bit easier is to say something more like that makes more sense, And I like to say miss, up, down to help me remember to miss the strings on beat 3, miss, up, down. You could think of a real word that fits in there, but this feels better to me. I was thinking like, what word could I use for that? And no, let's just go miss, up, down. So you go 1 E and 2 E and miss, up, down. And that's how you get that placed in the perfect spot. And once you're good with that, we backtrack, we add all the stuff before it. Down, 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 up, miss, up, down. Those are the actual strokes. That's probably the best way to put it together. I'll just write it up at the top here. Or you could count it out going 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and. And that I feel like, once again, a good skill to have in the long run, but I'd rather you just say the down and the up strokes to really nail these rhythms. Now, beat 4 is another down, down, up. So that's another Vancouver. And once again, we have our 3 options. We could say the strokes. So 4 E and down, 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 up, miss, up, down, 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 up. We could say the Vancouvers, all our little tricks. 1 E and Vancouver, miss, up, down, Vancouver. And that's how I would say that one. Or we could just count it out straight up, which is the least helpful, but the most impressive skill. I don't know, whatever. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. and that's the most technical way to do it. Just do whatever works for you, regardless of what you're saying. I do believe it is very important to say something. Vocalize each part, go through it to memorize the pattern rhythmically. That's the ultimate way to do it. Now, there is a lot more to strumming, so much more that I made an entire course devoted to it, Strumming Made Simple. And it starts at the beginner level. Like, somebody who maybe knows some chord shapes, but they really want to become a rhythmic person, it starts right where you're at and goes all the way to the point where you can play guitar and sing at the same time. You can learn strumming patterns by ear. You can just hear the rhythm of a song and then copy it out onto the guitar, even if it's just like a drum beat or anything, right? It lets you make rhythms out of thin air, right? And I even added an optional chapter at the end where we talk about all the rhythm theory, how to read rhythms and how to do all that sort of stuff. So, it'll take you as far as you want to go. But the whole point isn't just to teach you a bunch of useless stuff that you're not going to use. It's all incredibly useful things that are going to make you sound better when you play, no matter the situation. And I'll put a link to that in the corner and down below in the description. Otherwise, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, do all the YouTube stuff that'll help support me and this channel. It really helps me out, and it's the best way that you can sort of, give a little thanks for this lesson that I put together for free here on YouTube. Otherwise, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.